Welcome to a special edition of Notsam Wrestling. It's a PLE weekend. Crown Jewel is finally here. And yes, we have an 8 a.m. Eastern start time WWE Premium Live event coming from Perth, Australia. So if you're an early riser, this is great news. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are watching this show on delay. But, I mean, if I was a kid, I'd be in heaven. Forget about Saturday morning cartoons. I would be sitting there waiting all morning long for Superstars to begin. If there was a pay-per-view at that time on as soon as I woke up on Saturday morning, it would be thrilling. It'll be very interesting to see though with Crown Jewel if they start the show knowing that a bunch of the American audience is not watching live yet, because I guarantee the majority of the audience won't start watching at 8 a.m. Eastern. I think by the end of the show, a lot of people will be watching live, but I think a lot of people will be watching on delay. I think a lot of people are going to rewind to watch it again later. And there will still be a bunch of people that maybe decide to pop onto the app on a Saturday afternoon or something. But however you choose to watch it, we're going to be here covering it. Of course, right now with the preview show, we're going to be on the WWE podcast feed with the Crown Jewel recap that we'll record immediately after the PLE. And then also, assuming something happens, because something's got to happen, we'll have an emergency podcast, I would imagine, after Crown Jewel's over. And I really hope something does happen, because I think it's a very interesting time that WWE has gotten to, because if you pay attention to how fans react, and maybe it doesn't matter because the numbers are still there, but if you pay attention to how fans react to shows, giant matches are not enough anymore. You need giant matches and you need surprises. You need giant matches and you need storyline revelations. You need giant matches and you need cliffhangers. I think the WWE audience is looking at giant matches and feeling like they're giant matches because they are a giant piece of storytelling, ultimately. So it's not just about the big, marquee match, because these are all massive, massive matches. I think what is going to make them noteworthy or not, what is going to make people want to turn Monday Night Raw on at 8 o'clock in the morning on Netflix is, what is the story that comes out of these matches? And to me, as you're building up towards this show, the Cody Rhodes Seth Rollins match is ironically the match with, I think, the most story, which doesn't always happen. The reason it's ironic is because almost by definition, the Crown Jewel match is simply a champion versus champion match. It's between two people that under any other circumstance would not have a match. There's no reason to have the World Heavyweight Champion fight the WWE Champion. There's no reason because they're both world champions. There's no reason because they're on two separate shows. There's no reason because there hasn't been a story that's guiding these two together. And because coming off of this PLE, both champions get to leave with their titles. Except there's a title here that is hovering above both the World Heavyweight title and the WWE Championship, and that's who's the man, which I would have thought it was Vader. But last year, it felt like the World Heavyweight title, because it had only been established for a couple of years at that point, maybe, it was sort of, is the World Heavyweight title on the level of the WWE Championship? And it ended up being that the WWE champion Cody Rhodes won, but Gunther still, it was still a great match. And I think it did a lot. But here, it's not really about the titles. Gunther versus Cody was almost, if you were looking for a story, I think a lot of us were watching that match for the story of the titles themselves. In this one, it's the story of the individuals in the match and the standings that they have coming out of the match. The story in this match has been Seth Rollins needs to win and doesn't know if he can. There has never been a situation where he needed to beat Cody Rhodes more, but Cody Rhodes is not beatable. Cody Rhodes is not somebody that Seth Rollins can get a victory over. And I'm not going to get into SmackDown spoilers in case you haven't seen it yet, but I will get like the big SmackDown spoilers because there was some stuff that happened on that show. First of all, that was, bar for bar predicted on Notsam Wrestling. So we'll get into that on the Monday podcast. Maybe on probably the Monday podcast. But I do want to at least touch on the Cody Rhodes promo that opened SmackDown this week, which was basically almost Cody bragging. Cody setting up that, yes, Seth is the one that needs to win this match. Seth can't beat me. I call myself the QB, but that's really just a nickname. I understand that there's a whole team here, and it's a better team than the WWE has ever had. And that at any point, if I drop the ball, one of them can pick it up. And Roman Reigns' name was mentioned, and Randy Orton's name was mentioned, and CM Punk's name was mentioned, and even Seth Rollins' name was mentioned before Perth decided to let the world know that they thought he was a wanker, which was beautifully translated, I thought, by Wade Barrett. But so what I thought the story might develop into, which is this is also must win for Cody, that Cody has declared himself the QB. Cody said on the post show of WrestlePalooza, I am the quarterback, and with all due respect to everybody in that locker room, there is nobody that can handle this job as well as I can. And that's what brought Seth Rollins out to the stage. Now, Cody is now saying, look, I understand that, that's something that I say, and that's a nickname, and I understand I've said it, but honestly, this locker room is stronger than it's ever been. However, I will tell you this. I'm the wrestler that Seth Rollins can't beat. Whether it's in his head, whether it's in my head, whether it's reality, Cody Rhodes is the wrestler that Seth Rollins can't beat. And that history, they've done a beautiful job of telling the history of this match in the build-up to it. Talking about Cody coming back to the WWE and his first big, feather in his cap before he won the Royal Rumble, before he went to WrestleMania, before he won King of the Ring, before any of that stuff, was beating Seth Rollins 3 straight premium live events. One of them in a Hell in a Cell with a torn pectoral and a bruise that covered an entire side of his body. Then, coming off of that, Seth being Cody's shield at WrestleMania 40. But Seth making it clear, and he made it clear then, this is not revisionist history. Okay, this is the story that it was then, and this is not a retcon situation. Seth made it clear that he was helping Cody, not because he thought Cody should be the guy, but because he knew Roman shouldn't. And so this is our only chance to get the title off Roman. I'm going to make sure we get the title off Roman, but it was not because I intended to be a Cody Rhodes ally. I was for that night, but it was for this intention. And that intention still matches the character that Seth Rollins is today. But we've now heard it said on television. If Seth Rollins loses, the Vision isn't looking at him the same way anymore. The locker room isn't looking at him the same way anymore. Paul Heyman is questioning why he joined Seth Rollins to begin with. All of this stuff is wrapped up in this victory. Now, I think Cody Rhodes is going to lose this match. And it'll be interesting if Cody does lose this match because I'm curious of where he goes after it, and I'm curious of what his narrative will be around this match after the match. We know what his narrative is going into the match, which is, I'm the quarterback. Like it or hate it, it's a nickname. I understand that there are other talented people around here, but right now I'm the man. And also, Seth Rollins can't beat me. Well, if Seth Rollins beats him, and he says, hey, Seth, you were the better man that night. And Seth goes, no, I'm the better man in general, and I'm the one shaping the industry. Does Cody then have to rebuild a little bit? Does he have to go back to proving himself? And then, if Seth does win, does he have a chip on his shoulder against anybody that doubted him? Seth, even the kickoff show, the big event that they do in front of the audience on the stage and everything, Seth just kind of walked off when the rest of the Vision was worrying about Jimmy and Jey Uso, Seth was on another planet. When Becky Lynch was worrying about, Jessica Carr and Maxine Dupree and not going to Perth, Seth Rollins was on another planet. So there's two things that happen here. Seth either comes out, this is a Seth Rollins match. Seth Rollins either comes out of this match in a place where he has nothing anymore, that somehow he's built this thing coming off of WrestleMania and was not able to sustain it even through October of the same year. The Vision completely falls apart, and I think the troupe of Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker are the ones that go on and conduct the business that the Vision was once meant to conduct. And Seth Rollins is just in the sunken place trying to figure out what to do next. The other thing that happens is Seth wins, and if Seth wins, you can't shut that guy up. If Seth wins, there's no stopping him. Because I think if Cody loses, here's what I really think happens if Cody loses. Well, Seth was the better man that night, and what I've got to do is dust myself off and prove to the world that I'm still the quarterback. And then whoever is the guy, whether it's Jacob Fatu, whether it's Drew McIntyre, whether it's whoever that's fighting Cody Rhodes next, they're looking at a weakened Cody Rhodes, and Cody has to prove that he's not weakened, right? After Crown Jewel, we have a Saturday night's main event on the 1st of November, and then we go right to Survivor Series War Games at the end of that month. And either Cody will defend the title at War Games, or he'll be in that War Games match. But either way, by the time we get to War Games, it has to be, this is Cody, this is the champion. And it's interesting for Cody because he did beat Drew at WrestlePalooza. But honestly, with Cody, we haven't had that strong second run start yet. And the only reason we haven't had it is because he had to go away and film Street Fighter. He wins the title in a fabulous match at SummerSlam. What I believe, and honestly, this could end up being, if you go to Saturday night's main event on the 13th of December, John Cena's last match, and that match is not John putting over somebody, because you could, two things you could do in that, and we'll talk about that, in December. But either it's John versus a heel and John loses, or it's a match designed to celebrate John and John wins. There's a way you do Saturday night's main event and John Cena wins and everybody's happy. But if that is the case, then you can't say the torch hasn't been passed, because the torch was passed. The torch was passed to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. But after that, Cody gets injured. He's had the one victory over Drew McIntyre, but then he's right on to Crown Jewel. So if he loses to Seth Rollins, he's 1-1 in big matches in this second run of his championship, which doesn't establish him as being rebuilt from WrestleMania. We watched him lose at WrestleMania. He got the title back at SummerSlam, but now he's 1-1 after winning that title, if Seth Rollins beats him. So it is, to me, very compelling, especially for what's going to come out of it, because I don't really see how Cody or Seth come out of this match. If Cody wins, he comes out the same way he went in, but Seth is totally different. If Seth wins, Seth is tweaked, but Cody's tweaked as well. And Cody's got to come from that spot. And I mean, you can play with this idea unless somebody's going to come out and turn on Cody, if this is going to be the moment that Randy strikes, if this is going to be something is going to happen there, because I think, because here's what I think is going to happen, and we can go back to another match on the show. I think Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in an Australian street fight is going to happen before. And I think because we've already established that Becky Lynch is not going to be in Perth. Becky Lynch said on Monday Night Raw, well, I'm not going to Perth as a form of protest, because she was so mad about the way the Maxine Dupree match went. But it also says, okay, that's one member of the Seth Rollins army that won't be there. Well, I think that we need to get Roman Reigns kind of back in the regular rotation. The same thing I said about Cody Rhodes, I say about Roman Reigns. This is what happens when you leave for a period of time. You have to kind of reestablish yourself and spend some time back. You can't just leave, come back, leave, come back, leave, come back. It's just not going to work in terms of capturing momentum. So I think Roman needs to stick around for a while. I think that Roman needs to remind everybody that he's a babyface, because with everybody's fantasy bookings about what's going on with Jay and Jimmy Uso, I feel like everybody forgets that Roman is a babyface now. Because Roman is dipping his toe back into manipulating Anoa'i, Maivia, Fatu family members, that people are forgetting he's a babyface. And we haven't seen him enough to really go, well, no, this is the established character. And I think that starts with Crown Jewel. And I think he's going to smash Bronson Reed. I think that what you gave Bronson Reed at Clash in Paris, you cash in on at Crown Jewel. I think that it helped Bronson Reed tremendously. He did lose technically to Roman Reigns, but what people remember is the beatdown that Roman Reigns got after the match. He came out of that match on top, to the point where having a second Bronson Reed match not only is not insane, but makes perfect sense for Roman Reigns. There should be a second Bronson Reed match. Only this one, it should be in reverse. This one, Roman should smash Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed should leave and go to the hospital. And I think Braun Breaker should come out and try to help him. And the Usos should take care of Braun Breaker. I think you got the opportunity. I think Roman Reigns needs to look incredibly dominant. Because what have you had from Roman Reigns, right? He loses at WrestleMania after Paul Heyman turns on him. Then the night after WrestleMania, he gets laid out. Then he comes back for SummerSlam. His team wins, but he didn't get the pin. He ended up getting speared, and Jey Uso got the pin. Then he goes to Clash in Paris, and he beats Bronson Reed, but he gets laid out and stretchered out. So it's like, and I mean, look at the whole year. He lost the Royal Rumble. He beat Solo Sikoa on Netflix Raw. He lost the Royal Rumble. He lost at WrestleMania. It's like, we haven't seen Roman Reigns on a path of destruction. This, on paper, has not been a good year at all for Roman Reigns. So I think that turns around, and it turns around starting at Crown Jewel. Because you do two things there. Number one, you have Roman Reigns reminding everybody he's the man. This is the path that Roman takes to being back in the main event at WrestleMania 42. And to be in the main event in a scene where it's like Roman has to win the championship. You also, that's the long-term goal. In the short term, you set up a scenario where Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are not there to help Cody Rhodes. Are not there to help Seth Rollins. So now you've got Becky, who didn't come to Perth. You've got Bronson and Braun, who were taken out by Roman Reigns and the Usos earlier in the night. So there is no one there to help Seth Rollins. It is truly one-on-one. And so this could end up being the night that Randy Orton shows up and RKO's Cody Rhodes. It could happen. Right? Because you have this scenario where Seth goes in with his back against the wall even more, because now he's got no help. And then if we see Randy Orton, if we see whoever it is, whoever's going to be next for Cody, Randy would be the big, huge, oh my God moment. But it could be a lot of people. I hope it's Randy. And Cody gets laid out. And Seth is able to get the victory that way. And that way you can push forward a story where Cody and Randy were finally going to get it. Unless, I kind of feel like you could wait all the way to WrestleMania for that, but maybe you got other plans for WrestleMania. We can finally get Cody versus Randy, and Seth can lead the vision properly. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, there's also just the same scenario as WrestlePalooza. Almost like a Hogan ending. There's a world where Cody just beats Seth. All of those things are possible. But I say Roman beats Bronson Reed. Bronson and Braun Breaker get taken out. Seth Rollins is by himself versus Cody. Maybe Randy Orton or somebody else turns on Cody. That way we can come off of Crown Jewel with Seth leading the vision and Cody's story to whatever is next for him already being told. I think that's the way we do it, where everybody wins. You've got Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton in the other champion versus champion match. I think Stephanie Vaquer wins this one. I'm not predicting. I feel like this is just going to be a moment for the two of them to have a big match together. And I think Tiffany, if you watch her on SmackDown, you'll see the crowd is into her, and I believe she reacts very, very well to that. But I think that this is a moment, this is really a showcase for these relatively new superstars in the women's division being on this kind of very high stage. So I think Stephanie ends up getting the victory to really establish herself as what could be the top woman on the roster. I don't think Tiffany needs it. I think whoever Tiffany goes on to next, whether it's another, Nia Jax story or Jade Cargill or whoever they've got, maybe Bianca Belair is coming back at some point. I would love, because the SmackDown women's title scene does need a bit of a refresh. I would love to think Bianca's on her way back because, man, Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair would be great. But I think that when you look at the Raw women's division, and you don't really have to look much further than the tag match that we'll talk about in a second, but you have Asuka, you have Io, you have Rhea, you have all these people in that division. And I think Stephanie Vaquer getting the victory over Tiffany Stratton puts her in that space where wherever you go next with her, you now have people looking at her like she's a legit main eventer, and that some of these more established women it's not a given that they're going to beat Stephanie. Speaking of women, you're looking at those, at three of them, of the women that I just mentioned in this tag match. It's Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Asuka and Kairi Sane. I've actually really enjoyed this story. Kairi! I love it. I love what Asuka's doing right now. I think the Asuka stuff specifically is resonating. I think Asuka's been, her stock's been raised because of it, and people are kind of remembering that, oh yeah, Asuka is a world title contender whenever that trigger gets pulled. I think that Rhea and Io end up winning this for sure, and I think Rhea is the one who gets the pin because, number one, she's in Perth. They're going to go nuts for her. And number two, she's Rhea Ripley. We're getting to this point where it's like, don't get comfortable with her not being the champion. Don't get comfortable with her not in the top spot. Because I think across a women's division that is loaded right now, especially on Monday Night Raw, with Io and Stephanie and Becky Lynch and Asuka, Rhea Ripley is the biggest star on the women's roster. So I think you're getting to a place, and at some point, I think you have the title back on Rhea Ripley. Because I think your WrestleMania match has to be Io Sky challenging Rhea Ripley for the women's championship. I think that has to be the WrestleMania match this year. The story of Rhea not being able to beat Io is too well documented. And I think and Io winning the Royal Rumble or winning the Elimination Chamber, I would put her to win the Royal Rumble, honestly. But it would just be such a move. Everybody would love it so much. But I think, to me, the WrestleMania match has to be Io trying to get the title from Rhea. I think that begins here with Rhea getting the victory. I think you can move on. Whether you're going to do Stephanie versus Rhea soon or Stephanie versus Rhea even a couple months from now. You might even wait until that December Saturday Night's Main Event. Maybe the John Cena Saturday Night's Main Event is where you do the title change. Maybe on an episode of Monday Night Raw. Leading up to WrestleMania, you do the title change, right? But I don't need the same way you did with Io and Rhea, you do with Stephanie and Rhea, except in reverse, where now Rhea gets it on the road to WrestleMania, and then we end up with Io versus Rhea. No triple threat, just straight up Io versus Rhea, Io trying to get the title back. For me, that's the WrestleMania match. I also go there because I have Kairi eating the pin. And that relationship between Kairi and Asuka kind of going forward. And Io being there to help Kairi as Asuka gets abusive towards her. And that way you can go with Io and Asuka in a rivalry while Rhea is on this mission to get the championship back. And that's how you keep them apart. in my opinion. And then finally, your fifth match on the show is AJ Styles versus John Cena. AJ Styles been talking a lot. AJ Styles was on, we did a Crown Jewel preview podcast on the Raw recap feed, myself, Megan Morant, and Big E. And we interviewed AJ Styles on it. He was very, very candid. He said he didn't think that he was going to get this match because he hasn't exactly been used in a main event spot. He said he felt like people thought he was not important, which was heartbreaking to hear. But now that he's here, they're going to leave it all in the ring. You know, this isn't a story of one guy has to win, the other guy has to lose. This is a story of we get one more John Cena versus AJ Styles match. Let's see what these guys still have. In terms of who should win and who should lose, I mean, I think honestly, this is one of the John Cena retirement tour matches that we watch and just think, oh, this is so cool that we get to see this. Maybe more than any other match on the retirement tour. I'm trying to think of all of John Cena matches. I mean, you could maybe say that also about the Randy Orton Backlash match. I think that gets a little bit of a monkey wrench thrown in because John Cena was a heel at the time. But I think more so, maybe I should say, than any of John's other matches on this tour, this is the match that I look at and go, we get to just watch this. How great is it that we get to see this? Now, in terms of winning and losing, I think that this match serves three purposes. Number one, the narrative behind this match is that fan service. That for everybody that was upset about the Brock Lesnar match, this match is happening because fans wanted to see it and for no other reason. True or false, that's the story of the match. So you have that. I think the second thing is, how much does AJ have left in the tank? And the fact that AJ is talking about 2026 being his last year. I think that you now have the opportunity. I mean, you could almost do a Ric Flair storyline with AJ Styles, except, and this is no offense whatsoever to Ric Flair, because a lot of those Ric Flair matches were great, and the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match was incredible. But the idea that AJ is kind of building to a retirement match, like I wouldn't mind, of all people, to do the Ric Flair gimmick where he says, the next match I lose is my last match, and it builds so that AJ Styles gets bigger and bigger matches on the way, and be straight up, I'm going to do the Ric Flair thing, like reference Ric Flair when he says it, but I think that could be a good look for AJ Styles, but that's in the future. I think that's for 2026. For right now, this is the first time we're seeing John Cena since he got absolutely decimated by Brock Lesnar, and in storyline and in reality, John Cena needs that comeback. John Cena needs to rebuild, and he's got 5 appearances left, and one of them is this match with AJ Styles. I think that this is the first match of the final lap. It's quarter 4 of the year, the fiscal year. It's quarter 4. We're in the 4th quarter of John Cena's retirement tour. 5 matches left. 5 appearances left. We don't even know if we'll get matches on all of them. I think that John Cena has 5 appearances to make people go, man, that retirement tour was great. And I think he started that at SummerSlam. And I think he continued it with the Logan Paul match. That was a really great match. And I think the brakes got put on in the Brock Lesnar match. People were not pleased about that. I think winning this AJ Styles match puts him in the right place where when he does come back, because he's going to do this match with AJ Styles, I think John Cena should win, because then he's gone for another month. And then he's back for the 2 Raws before War Games. And then he's back for War Games. I think we need matches every single appearance that John Cena's doing. And I think John Cena needs to win them all until that last match in order for that conversation to be meaningful whatsoever. I think that to have John Cena wrestling younger guys, especially if it's not his last match, he should win those matches, because the people that he's wrestling, if the matches are good, will get over without John Cena losing. And if they're young and they really need that rub, they're not ready to be the next John Cena anyway, so they shouldn't be winning. But I do think that they'll get over just by having a great competitive match with John Cena. But in order for that to happen, I think John has to beat AJ Styles. And I think AJ Styles can be on Raw on Monday saying, look, and hopefully if it's good enough, Have AJ Styles come out. I'll bet you he gets a standing ovation. If you just have AJ Styles come out and hold the microphone, I'll bet you he gets a standing ovation. And then just as John Cena's retirement tour is ending, have AJ Styles start talking about what he's got left in the tank. And don't do the exact same thing. Don't have him announce a date. Don't have him announce anything. But just start that build of like, look, AJ lost to John Cena, but he had one of the best matches in his career. And he doesn't intend on lose anymore. Saying he's going to retire next year. And he's been doing a lot of losing on the way here. And he's done with that. And then then find an opponent for him, a mystery opponent that you would have never thought. And he gets in the ring and he wins that match. And he wins the next match. And he wins the next match. Until we get to a place where maybe you can make us believe that he's going to win the Royal Rumble. He doesn't win the Royal Rumble, but maybe we believe he can win the Royal Rumble. Maybe we believe he can win the Elimination Chamber. Maybe he starts to get those world title matches again. Can you imagine at this point a rivalry between AJ Styles and Seth Rollins? I think it would be amazing, amazing. But this can get us there. We'll see if it does. But that's my point. We have Cody and Seth, AJ and John, Roman and Bronson, Rhea and Io versus the Kabukis, Stephanie and Tiffany. On paper, an absolutely loaded, star-studded show. Now, what happens in those massive matches that are going to make us talk about it and tune into Monday Night Raw at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday? Whatever it is, we will be here to talk about it. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, Notsam Wrestling. Make sure you're subscribed to the audio podcast feed, Notsam Wrestling, everywhere you get podcasts, Apple, Spotify. Leave your comments, hit like on YouTube, leave reviews on the podcast feed, and we will see you after Crown Jewel.